there are a lot of people who are pointing this out, that Anthropic right now has a job listing for a software engineer on their website right now for $570,000. And a lot of people are kind of pointing out, okay, so wait. So what Anthropic is saying is they're still trying to hire software engineers at a very high wage, but somehow they think these jobs are going to be eliminated.
Chamath might apply for that job. He was,
yeah, austerity measures. Sounds pretty good to me.
That's a lot of money.
Chamath might take that job and then just have AI do it for him.
No, I'm worried. Like, I hope my 80-90 team doesn't see that offer. That's
it's a big number.
Our equity is way higher, but our salaries are not that high. I mean, you put these things together, it's like that equity is money good. The reality is, like, those guys are doing $5 to $6 billion structured secondaries every year now, or they're starting, which means that they will. That's like cash compensation. So
Right.
for me to match that, I need to be 3x higher than that.
Right. And I think a lot of people are kind of pointing out, well, this is a contradiction. Anthropic doesn't really seem to be practicing what they're preaching if they're paying enormous amounts still for software engineers, even as they claim they're obsoleting the entire category. Something doesn't quite add up. Citadel Securities did a new report that rebuts that Citrini report, and they show a couple of stats here, which I think are really interesting. So job postings for software engineers are rapidly rising. They're showing, I think it was roughly a 10% year over year increase in the demand for software engineers. On a related note, they also show that company formation is also rapidly expanding. And that may have something to do with AI making it easier to start a business or to get leverage, to your point, Freeberg. So look, there's a couple of competing effects going on here. And I think Aaron Levy had a really good explanation of why you might see something very counterintuitive happening. And again, it all goes back to Jevons paradox. But what Aaron says is that when you lower the cost of something that was previously supply constrained, demand for that thing goes up. Software engineering is just one of the easiest examples to contemplate, but there are going to be many other jobs like that. But think about software engineering, even among startups in Silicon Valley, which I think are probably some of the most attractive places for software engineers to work. There's always been a chronic shortage of them. Then you've got the Fortune 500 companies, non-tech companies, which have always had an even harder time hiring technical talent. So you have this massive unfilled need for software engineers across the entire economy. Now you're going to be able to get a lot more leverage out of software engineers. It doesn't mean they're going to get fired. It just means that now maybe you can have a lot more 10x software engineers, and those jobs are now being spread throughout the whole economy. You know, I also think, just to put some numbers on this, I think the cost structure of the average Fortune 500 business is something like 5% IT. And that includes all of their IT, not just their software. You know, what should it be? What should the percentage of software be in an enterprise cost structure? Elon describes companies as cybernetic organisms that are part software, part human. If you think about the current Fortune 500 company being 1 or 2% software, maybe they should be 50% software. I think what Aaron is saying here is the market for software and software engineers was so constrained by the lack of availability that even if we 10x or 100x the productivity of software engineers, the demand will be there to absorb this new supply. And so it could lead to this explosion in productivity without the massive job loss.